I'm just about to turn 33. At 33, I've never been pregnant. I've had one STD, and my sexual history has been pretty good. And I think I owe a lot of this to my parents and the upbringing that they gave me. I knew from early on that my parents were probably a little bit different from everybody else's parents. They were very cool and laid back, and there was no topic that was off limits to us. So I went into my teenage and adult years with a good understanding of sex and sexual relationships and the consequences of these, and I thank them for this because it's kind of turned me into the adult that I am today. I've realised that my upbringing was probably a little bit different from most other people's upbringings, and I went to Facebook the other day to ask the way that people's parents spoke to them about sex when they were younger, and it was a pretty big resounding don't ask, don't tell kind of situation. When I was younger, my parents had 5 rules of sex that they handed down to us when we became of mating age, and seeing that a lot of your parents didn't give it to you when you were younger, here is my family's take on sexual education. Rule number 1, only do it because you want to. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory, but I hear a lot of people, and I heard a lot of people back in the day that got themselves into situations where possibly they didn't want to be because they didn't want to disappoint someone or they didn't know how to say no. So this, I think, should always be number 1. Only do it because you want to, because you have feelings for the person or because you're caught up in the moment. Don't just do it because you feel that you have to. As a person that has been adversely affected by someone wanting to take it when I didn't want to give it to them, I'm wholeheartedly telling you it's probably not a good idea, and don't put yourself in that situation if you can help it. Rule number 2. This one kind of only applies to you if you have a vagina, which both my sister and I do. So it was be on the pill. Prevention is better than cure, I suppose you could say. So when we were both quite young, we got taken to the doctors and given the option if we wanted to go on the pill. And it's been something that I've been on since I was about 14. Not because I was a floozy and I was sleeping around, but it's always good to have that bit of a backstop. So be on the pill, be safe, take the first line of defense. You can't always trust somebody else, so you can always trust yourself. Possibly. I think that's the reason that they did it. Yeah. Rule number 3, always use a condom. Always. So while the pill protects you from getting pregnant, the condom protects you from everything else. At the start of the video, I did say that I have had one STD, and that actually came because a condom broke, not because I was being a little floozy. So it doesn't matter how well protected you are, sometimes these things happen. But you, obviously, the 90% or the 95% is better than the 5%. I am not afraid to carry condoms with me when I'm going out. It doesn't mean that I'm planning on getting laid, but if I do, I always want to know that I am well and I am prepared. You can't always rely on somebody else. So the same as with being on the pill. So if I have condoms and I meet someone that I want to be intimate with, I've got this, and we don't have to rush down to the service station or do anything like that. So they're there and we're ready to go. Rule number 4. I never really understood this one because it's not something that I ever think that I want to do, but don't be drunk. When you are drunk, obviously your inhibitions are gone and you're more likely to make choices and things that you wouldn't in a normal everyday life. So it's kind of like going into these things with a clear brain and knowing that you want to do it. I hate having sex when I'm drunk. All of that pushing and bouncing on my belly, I'm probably going to spew on you. And while that has been worked for me in the past, I probably don't want to spew on everyone that I meet to start a relationship. It's a little bit unconventional, and I'm trying to be a little bit more conventional in my life. So don't be drunk, don't be high. I suppose this can kind of be negated a little bit if you're in a relationship, then possibly. There might be some loopholes in this one, but that was one of the big ones. Don't be drunk. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, I was a pretty good girl when I was younger. I was quite religious until I was nearly 18. So I never went out drinking and I didn't do any drugs, and it kind of kept my chastity in check. So I guess it goes without saying, don't be drunk. Rule number 5. Uh, do it in a safe place. So don't pull over onto the side of the road and start rooting in the park or wherever it is. My parents were always of the opinion that if we were going to do it, they would prefer us to do it at home because then we were safe and they knew where we were and there wasn't any chance of the boogie monster getting us or us getting done by police. So they gave us that option to do it at home, so we never felt like we needed to do it anywhere else. So yeah, maybe don't pull over your car into a dark dingy alley to do some loving because you never know what's going to happen and who's out there. Because of these rules that my parents gave me, I was really very lucky when I lost my virginity. I'd been dating this guy for a while and he'd taken me out on a lovely romantic dinner and I'd had a glass of wine to relax and I'd brought nice lingerie and I knew it was going to happen and there was candles and there was music and there were all of these things. So I went into my first sexual experience with this information in the back of my head and I'm really thankful that they gave that to me because it meant that when I finally did lose my virginity, it was with somebody that I really cared about and it was a really special experience for me. So thanks to that guy, you kind of made my life good and you gave everybody else kind of a thing to, a bar to go to. So thanks. And now's probably the time to admit that it all wasn't sunshine and light having parents that were open about everything. Obviously, because my parents were so open about everything and there was always this communication, it was kind of expected to be a two-way street. My mum asked me if I had lost my virginity, and I don't know why, but I lied to her. And then she chased my car down the street and she was crying. And I do feel bad about that. But I was young and I kind of felt like I wanted to keep something to myself. So I'm sorry, Mum. I didn't mean to make you cry and look like a crazy lady chasing the car down the street. Sorry. I think if I ever have children, I'm going to raise them the same way that my parents raised me. I've turned into a pretty good adult, I think, and these things shouldn't be taboo because it is something that everybody does. I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and he mentioned that he'd slept with the girl he was seeing without using a condom, and I was pretty shocked because I wasn't too sure about her. And anyway, when I did bring it up to him, he said, "I made her take the morning after pill. I'm not totally stupid." And it worries me that people these days think that pregnancy is the biggest of their problems because it really isn't. You can deal with a baby, you probably can never get rid of herpes. So you might want to think about these things. Or if you are going to have sex without a condom, which does happen, and I have done it myself, I'll admit that, have the conversation with the person that you are sleeping with. Obviously, as adults, you should go and get tested regularly and make sure that you're all clear and have that conversation with them. You're about to get intimate with them, so don't be embarrassed. They're about to look at you in your entirety, so you may as well have this conversation with them. And another big thing, keep up to date with your tests. You never know. Only 30% of people show symptoms when they do have an STI or an STD, so you could be in that 70% that doesn't, and you could unwillingly be passing these things on to other people. After my little brush with the chlamydias, I now go every 3 months or every 6 months, even if I'm not being intimate, because I'm so terrified that it's going to come back. And I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. So kids, get tested. It's a blood test and a piss test, and that's it. It takes 5 minutes out of your time. And for the peace of mind that it's going to give you, I can really recommend it. Don't worry, I do realise that it's probably a little bit too late to be having the birds and the bees talk with a lot of you, but hopefully this video has given you a little bit of insight into the way that I was brought up and why I am the person that I am, and hopefully it's also opened up the lines of communication. Sex shouldn't be a taboo subject. It never should be. If you are going to get intimate with someone, have a conversation with them just for your safety. Pregnancy isn't the worst thing in the world that could happen to you, but getting herpes probably is. So don't be a fool, wrap your tool. With loves and life lessons, Miss K. Here's a little PS. If everyone is feeling a little bit envious of my upbringing and the cool parents that I have, let me share a story with you, and I'm sure my sister will back me up on this one. When I was about 18, I had been out for the day and I came home and there was a wrapped box on my bed covered in shiny paper. And I was so excited because fuck yeah, there's a present for me to play with. So I ripped the paper off really quickly and flipped the lid of the box open, and I was pretty horrified. It was full of videos on how to create the female orgasm and books about sex and vibrators and condoms and all of these things like that. So my parents were trying to educate us without really talking to us, and it was kind of awkward, but it did serve as a useful gift for us. At my sister's 21st, we had vibrator racers across her floor. So thanks for the presents, parents.